Hey, what is going on? 2 minutes in the box with Gordo today, March 11th, 2025, recapping last night games, latest news and rumors, and surprising suspension that is going to rock the NHL world. And you got a spoiled brat, and we got an accomplishment feat, a major comeback, a serious comeback, and we also have an awkward situation in Boston and the Red Wings' misfortunes in the month of March, and we're previewing tonight's games. Okay, first up, let's talk about the Oilers and the Sabres. What a win for the Buffalo Sabres, an upset win against the defending Western Conference champs. And the Sabres, they played spectacularly well. The Sabres, Tage Thompson, the big man himself, 2 goals, just impressive play right there. And the Edmonton Oilers, though, I gotta tell you, McDavid and Draisaitl are studs. Bouchard and Nurse, they got the goals, but I gotta be honest. I just don't think the Edmonton Oilers are good enough. Okay, the Edmonton Oilers are not good enough. The Edmonton Oilers are not good enough. I don't think they're going to make it back to the Cup Finals. They need a goalie. They screwed up. They got Jake Wallman at the trade deadline. Good player, but not enough. I got a feeling that if the playoffs were today, the LA Kings will beat the Oilers in 6 or 7 games. And don't care you have Connor McDavid and Draisaitl in your crew. I don't care. I am saying this. The LA Kings would beat the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, now we go to a controversial game between the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators. Man, what a game, but controversial ending. The Red Wings, though, I gotta tell you, for the last 2 Marches, the Detroit Red Wings have an embarrassment record of 3-16 in the last 2 Marches. March Madness, more like March Sadness. The Red Wings are a dumpster fire in March. They were doing so well with Todd McLellan in the first 2 months of the new year. Now it's like, what the hell just happened? The Red Wings, they tied the game basically. That puck was released and went in the net, and the buzzer beat went off. I thought in any rule that you get the shot off in time, it goes in. Just like in basketball. You get the shot off on, you get the shot. You get the shot in time, before the buzzer beats. And guess what? It goes in, it counts. But in the NHL, oh yeah, I'm going to take a shot, and then the puck doesn't cross the line until the buzzer beats. I'm like, really? That is ridiculous. That puck, that should have counted. That should have been a tying goal that should have gone to overtime. But no, the NHL didn't want that. They don't think that, oh yeah, the buzzer beater, this shot was off in time. And the worst part is that they called it a no goal. The shot was off in time and it went in the net. That's a goal. That was the most bullshit call I've ever seen this season so far. That was a good goal. The league robbed the Red Wings. That was a good goal. The puck came off in time and it crossed into the net. Nobody touched it. The shot went off in time. Now that is a goal. In basketball, like I said, you take the shot before, like 2-1. The ball comes off just in time and it goes in. That counts. And they said, oh, doesn't count. No, really? The puck went in the net. Nobody touched it. The shot went off with 2 seconds left. And that right there is a goal. The Red Wings got robbed right there. They played their hearts out in the third period. They had 49 shots on goal and Linus Ullmark. That right there was a good goal. Should have gone to overtime. Red Wings would have won. That was ridiculous and a bunch of crap right there. Oh, man, that really pissed me off. I mean, the Red Wings got it fixed March. It should be madness, not sadness. All right, now you got the Chicago Blackhawks and the Colorado Avalanche. Two historical things that happened. Two historical things have happened for 2 reasons. One, Nathan MacKinnon becomes the 100th player in NHL history to score 1,000 goals. Very impressive indeed. Nathan MacKinnon is definitely on my MVP vote. He has been very impressive, just spectacular. I mean, Nathan McKinnon is one of the best players in the NHL. I tell you, very impressive, very impressive. And I'll tell you, the Blackhawks, though, their former second overall pick, who was playing in Michigan State, who is currently playing on Rockford, made his NHL debut. Very quiet night for the big fella. But let's just put it this way. Let's just put it this way. You know, he had a -1. Artie Levy. I can't pronounce his last name. Levnushnov, let's just put it this way. Levnushnov, he played all right, but with a -1. You know, I think the Blackhawks should have told him stay in college another year. Michigan State would have won a national, could be winning a national title right now. That's how ridiculous this sounds. I'm telling you, Artie Levnushnov would have been, ready next season, not this season. I think it was a bunch of crap, and I feel that the Blackhawks rushed him into their system too soon, and he should have spent another year in Michigan State. I don't like how big clubs interfere with the development of their prospects, throwing them into the wolves. Who they think they're physically and mentally ready, but they're not. You've got to develop and harness their game before they step on the ice with the big boys. Yeah, that's a little frustrating. And then we had a very interesting game between Toronto Maple Leafs and Austin Matthews against Utah Hockey Club. Austin Matthews, they got the win. It was bitter because that was his former childhood team that became from, Arizona to Utah. And I'll tell you, it was a sad one. It was pretty sad for Austin Matthews, but fresh new market. But honestly, I'll tell you that this game right here was entertaining to say the least. And Maple Leafs go up 3-0, and then Simon Benoit, he brought the Kevin BX's Superman punch. That was a highlight of the night. That was a highlight of the night. Going against Michael Kezering, and I'll say that punch was a motivator for Utah. Utah got 3 straight goals after that. It was it was a pretty badass fight. It was a badass fight. By Benoit. Benoit just Superman punch. It was just a Kevin BX classic of a punch. And yeah, I'll say this, and don't forget, Benoit got a goal out of it, and the Leafs got the win in the shootout. Yeah, it was a very close game, indeed, to say the least. And, Austin Matthews got the shootout, and Mitch Marner got the game winner. I tell you, people don't talk about this much, but Clayton Keller is one of the most underrated players in the National Hockey League. He is just straight up underrated and underappreciated. And I'll say this, Utah, you've got a special team being built. You've got a special team coming in the years to come. Yeah, very interesting game. It was very exciting indeed. All right, now let's get to the standing updates. Florida Panthers maintain the Atlantic lead by 83 points. Toronto, they're 2 points behind Florida, 81 points. Lightning with 78. In the Metropolitan Division, you've got Washington at 92, Carolina at 80, 74 for New Jersey, Ottawa, 71 points, and Columbus at 70. And still teeter-tottering, it's the Rangers, the Canadiens, the Red Wings, and the Bruins. 4 original 6 teams trying to find their place. And looking at this, Toronto is currently the best original 6 team in the NHL. And, and this is going to be an interesting, we'll see who's playing tonight, but these standings are interesting. I don't know about the Islanders, though. They're barely holding on, They're playing LA tonight, but let's see what happens there. Now you've got in the Western Conference, Winnipeg Jets still have the lead in the Central. And in the Western Conference, they are ahead of Dallas by 6 and Colorado by 12. This right here is, climatic classic. If season ended today, we might see Dallas and Colorado against each other in the first round. And boy, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting indeed between Dallas and Colorado. And then meanwhile, in the Pacific Division, you've got Vegas at 82, Edmonton Oilers at 78. The Oilers, they know they are 4 points behind Vegas, but LA's got three behind them. And, you know, I gotta say, this is going to be a close finish in the Pacific Division. Meanwhile, in the wild card in the West, Minnesota 76, but the injuries really suck for the Wild. It's really hurting for the Wild. And I thought they're going to be a second place team in the Central Division, but no, they're going to be a wild card with all the injuries they've got. Oh, yeah. And then you've got Calgary at 70 for the final wild card spot. And meanwhile, you've got Vancouver, St. Louis, a point behind Calgary, for that final wild card spot. And Utah's 3 points behind, and Anaheim is 7 behind. Yeah. So currently we've got 3 or 4 teams are still in it trying to get a final wild card spot. But I'll say this, whatever happens tonight, right here is going to make the standings go crazy. And speaking of the games tonight, let's go to them. All right. So tonight we've got a 11 game side. All right. We've got the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins. The Panthers own the Bruins' soul. Meanwhile, the Bruins own the Maple Leafs' soul. But the Bruins, they are in the basement right now. Pretty sad indeed. Yeah, too bad. And we'll get to the individual news on that part. But then we got a crucial metropolitan matchup between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the New Jersey Devils. Yeah, this matchup right here is going to be, if Columbus wins, if the Blue Jackets win, they're creeping close behind New Jersey. But if New Jersey wins, the Devils increase the lead in the third place slot in the Metropolitan. Yeah, and I gotta say this one is definitely circled as highly anticipated and close for this matchup. Then you've got the Ottawa Senators and the Philadelphia Flyers. And Ottawa, they are feeling very, very, like playoff mode right now. The Sens, they had a great win against the Detroit Red Wings last night. They're playing against a Flyers team that still has some fight and bite in them, but, Ottawa is on a mission. They've got the first wild card right now, and they want to increase their point percentage and their points in the Atlantic Division and in the wild card spot for them right now. They're behind Florida, Toronto, and Tampa. I am saying Ottawa is going to be creeping on the, wild card spot. They're going to increase their point total tonight. That's an interesting take right there. Then you've got Vegas Golden Knights and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, I'm going to say this matchup is interesting indeed, but Vegas has got Pittsburgh's number. Vegas is on a mission, and they want to increase their lead in the Pacific Division. And meanwhile, the ping pong balls are getting louder in Pittsburgh, and the lottery odds are increasing for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're going to be missing the playoffs yet again for the third consecutive year. It's too bad, though. It's too bad. And then you've got the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Carolina Hurricanes. Former Hurricane cameo Carolina Hurricane Jake Gensel is going to be playing against his old team, and Gensel's the team leader in goals. Tampa Bay Lightning, I was wrong. You guys reinvented yourselves somewhat. You reinvented yourselves and getting Jake Gensel and then getting an upgrade from Stamkos. Stamkos' game is gone. His game is definitely gone. And I know Stamkos has got 20-something goals, but Gensel is a huge upgrade and it's really helped the Lightning. Last year, they were in a wild card spot. This year, they are third in the Atlantic Division. And Carolina, in the meanwhile, they are trying to get a sole second place of the Metropolitan. In this game right there, it's another intriguing one. It's March Madness here, people. It's March Madness. Then, meanwhile, you've got in Minnesota, you've got the Avalanche and Wild. And Nathan MacKinnon, this dude is on fire. 27 goals so far this season with 75 assists. First 100-point man of the season. I mean, Nathan MacKinnon is 102 points. And Minnesota's all banged up right now. Colorado is going to increase their lead in third spot in the Central Division. Colorado is a dangerous team, but when we get to this for the games this weekend, there's one game in particular that everybody's circling down because it's highly anticipated. It's highly anticipated. And then you've got the New York Rangers against the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg's been slumping lately. They're playing against a lowly New York Rangers team that's looking for points. They got 66 right now. They are looking to get into a wild card spot, but Winnipeg's got all the weapons and tools they need to make sure that they increase their lead in the Central Division. And the Rangers, they're trying to keep their season and playoff dreams alive here. This year is crucial. This year is very crucial. And then you've got Montreal and Vancouver. This is a lowly game right here. I gotta say, Vancouver, if they win tonight, if Vancouver wins tonight, they can get into that final wildcard spot where the Calgary Flames are currently holding that spot. But Montreal's got some weapons too. They can goal score. Cole Caulfield's got 31, and the Canucks' best goal scorer is Jake DeBrusk. Very good signing for them, a very underrated signing. But I'm saying this, Montreal is still alive in this, but Vancouver. I mean, this is another matchup. It's basically two crucial points that can help you get into the wild card spot in each of their conferences. This one is highly anticipated to look at. Then you've got one of the best teams in the NHL with the Washington Capitals and the Anaheim Ducks. Right here, I am going to say, Ovi's going to score again. He is definitely on a mission. Next week is the day where I predicted Ovechkin will break Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. He's at 886 right now. He needs 9 to break the record. He needs 9. I got a feeling, but the Ducks, they're not going to give up a fight. The Ducks are a tough team. They're somewhat still in the wild card chase. And I got to say this would be a very close game, but Washington's going to prevail barely. But Anaheim, they are a tough, tough team. I'm predicting this. Ovechkin is definitely going to get a goal or two tonight. And it's going to get closer to the moment he breaks Wayne Gretzky's record. And meanwhile, from Orange County to LA County, Islanders play the Kings. This is a crucial matchup for the Kings. They are 3 points behind the Oilers in the Pacific Division. I'm predicting LA needs this, but the Islanders need the points to maintain themselves as to stay alive. They need to stay alive in the wild card chase. But the LA Kings, they want to dethrone the Oilers. And the Kings, though, it's going to be a close battle, though. It will be a close battle. And then our last game of the night is Nashville and San Jose, two lowly teams. Both have an upcoming future. The other one had a great offseason, but a disappointing season so far. Yeah, I'm going to say this is a matchup, a very intriguing matchup, but I got to say this right here, it's going to be a close matchup. And, William Eklund, very underrated. So is Macklin Celebrini. This right here is going to be something to watch for, but you never know. Teams are under 500 records. Games like that can be more entertaining than highly anticipated games. And it's based on fact. Yeah, it's based on fact. All right, now we get to the news and the rumors of the day. First off, what in the hell? What a surprising bombshell. I mean, Bill Zito is a genius at getting Seth Jones and from the Blackhawks a week and a half ago. But now their top defenseman, Aaron Ekblad, is out for 20 games for the rest of the season. You have 18 games to go, including 2 playoff games. Very crucial. Very crucial. The Florida Panthers won't be without Aaron Ekblad for those 20 games. Mistakenly took some PEDs that he didn't clarify with the team doctor, and it's disappointing and shocking. He was out during January for those 9 games, and you know, nobody knew. Nobody knew. Like he didn't even know if they were a legal substance. And looking at what I see on Aaron Ekblad, former first overall pick, you know, Stanley Cup champ. He was dealing with an upper body injury. He was missing those 9 games. And he is the first NHL player to be suspended for a first positive test of a illegal substance since teammate Nate Schmidt when he was with the Vegas Golden Knights. Pretty awkward to say the least. And the rules are, before we get to it, Ekblad's got 3 goals, 30 assists, 56 points, and his contract expires at the end of the year. And the rules is that the first offense is 20 games, then 60, and then a lifetime ban. You know, Pretty harsh. I think it's a wake up call. I think the second warning and the third warning. I think a lot of those guys got the memo and the message. Yeah, I think those are very scary, serious, consequential warnings for the strike 2 and strike 3. I think everyone's going to learn their lesson from the first time around. Yeah, seeing that sucks, but let's see how Zach Jones can control the Florida Panthers since he is at the helm on the back end in the new face since he was acquired from the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, very disappointing indeed for Aaron Ekblad. And speaking of disappointing and spoiled, Mika Rantanen, entitlement, being a little brat about not wanting to play for the Carolina Hurricanes. He wanted to go play either in Toronto, he wanted to play in Dallas, Florida, and Vegas. I think the Hurricanes got lucky by not signing him long term. He just played like crap on purpose. He played like crap on purpose so he can get out of Raleigh. And, this Sunday, this Sunday, we're going to see a very interesting game between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche in Colorado. Mika Rantanen's first game against his former team. And everyone online is saying, boo Mika Rantanen. I mean, the guy got a Stanley Cup with you guys. I mean, show some class and dignity, but, they'll show a video tribute, applause and love for like 3 or 4 minutes. But after that, the boo birds are going to be very loud indeed. And I don't know if Mika Rantanen made the right move. Short term, yes, but long term, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Just wait and see what happens. And we have a Brad Marchand sighting here. Brad Marchand skating with the Florida Panthers for the very first time in the most awkward places in his former building in Boston. How awkward can it be? Brad Marchand played 16 years with the Boston Bruins, and his first morning skate is with the Florida Panthers in Boston, of all places. That is like, crazily funny and awkward. You're seeing one of the most fan favorite players in New England sports generation, and you're seeing your former captain wearing Florida Panthers gear, and the first skate is in Boston, of all places. Marchand's still in the lineup, but I mean, very awkward. I mean, just like, oh my God, are you serious? Brad Marchand playing with the Florida Panthers in Boston. First morning skate with his new team. It's against his old team. How funny and awkward that is. That is pretty damn funny right here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And now we've got Mika. We got the most interesting news is Jonathan Toews. Jonathan Toews has been out in the NHL for the last couple seasons. And I tell you, the whole COVID narrative is a bunch of BS. A bunch of BS. The real story is that his longtime girlfriend, fiance, broke up with him. He went on this eat, pray, and love, phase. He just like went all over the world. He went to Costa Rica. He went to India. He went all over the world to get detox, get himself refreshed and reborn. And we've heard that Colorado, Winnipeg, and Toronto were highly interested in Jonathan Toews, Captain Series, the former Selke Award winner and Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Yeah, I gotta say, Jonathan Toews, I believe 31 teams will be highly interested in him. It's not going to be with Chicago. It's not going to be with a pretending team. He's going to go to a team on a 1 year veteran minimum prove me wrong deal. And it would be pretty interesting to see Taves kid, find his game back. He's getting healthy. And I mentioned yesterday, he's in the neighborhood. He was skating at Lake Worth at Skate Zone. And he's been skating all over South Florida and also skating in Arizona. Man, I mean, Taves coming back. I mean, I have this crazy idea. What if Jonathan Taves comes to the Detroit Red Wings on a 1 year deal and Patrick Kane comes back for another year so those two can reunite? The Red Wings are going to be like, we played against them in their prime as rivals, and now we get this past the prime. Ooh, yikes. Just yikes indeed. Yikes, yikes indeed. Wow. So, yeah, on top of all that, tomorrow we'll be back with another episode, 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. And remember, guys, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We'll be back here tomorrow with another episode of 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. Have a great day, everybody.